Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Haunted Mansion. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees. Who remembers 2003? It was a glorious year to be a Disney fan. Pirates of the Caribbean was the breakthrough summer blockbuster hit that Disney Parks fans didn't know they wanted, and then just months later, we had the release of the Haunted Mansion movie, starring Eddie Murphy, which was not great. Not that the Eddie Murphy movie was bad, it just wasn't good. And to be fair, the film had a lot to live up to. The Haunted Mansion is one of the most beloved attractions in all of the Disney theme parks. Some form of it exists at every park around the world, and with good reason. It's funny, it's scary, it has multitudes of unique, captivating ghost characters that are rich with story potential, none of which was embraced by the Eddie Murphy movie. The reason Pirates was so good is because it embraced everything that ride is about. And so in the end, we got an epic swashbuckling action-adventure movie about pirates. But with the Haunted Mansion, the Eddie Murphy film has a lot of great visual references and Easter egg homages to the ride, but it's really just like watching Eddie Murphy ride the ride. You have this modern-day guy thrown into this beautifully creepy, atmospheric haunted house. But the focus is on him, and that's where the comedy comes from.
This house has a bit of history to it. And this history haunts these walls.
I don't think it's a good idea to put that information in the listing.
It means that we didn't really get a movie about the beautifully creepy haunted house. I wanted to know that house's history, I wanted to know where the ghosts came from, and then instead we just got a normal guy getting scared.
Spirits from the grave, come forth.
Don't you make no dark spirits come out while I'm sitting there. Wait till I leave before the dark spirits come out.
Enter Guillermo Del Toro, Academy Award-winning director of The Shape of Water and Pan's Labyrinth and Hollywood's king of monsters. In 2010, he announced that he would be rebooting the Haunted Mansion for Disney. He didn't comment directly on the Eddie Murphy film. He didn't say it was bad by any means. He just said that he felt there was room for another Haunted Mansion movie. A Haunted Mansion movie through his vision, which would be rated PG-13, which would allow for the scary to be genuinely scary, and Haunted Mansion fans were thrilled. Well, that was 10 years ago, and here we are now in 2020, and that film is basically dead and buried. Kind of. Over the past 10 years, whenever Del Toro is interviewed about his latest films or his latest projects, it's not uncommon for the interviewer to ask about the status of the Haunted Mansion movie. And over the years, his answers have become less hopeful. In fact, as recently as last year, he was interviewed by MoviePhone and asked about the status of the project. And he responded by saying, "We've had 2 or 3 screenplays that I would have gladly shot. In my opinion, they were ready to be made. We've had a studio that has gone through a couple of seismic changes in that period. I don't know if it'll ever happen." And then he went on to say that it's not a project he would necessarily consider going back to right now, but he does hope that in the future someone does make a new Haunted Mansion film and it's made by someone who really loves it. And on that note, I just want to say I am available. I have made films. I have a filmmaking degree. Please call me. It's unfortunate because a lot of people, myself included, were very excited to see what Del Toro was going to do to bring the Haunted Mansion onto the big screen, but it really begs the question. If everything were to line up perfectly with the studios and with the production and all of that technical stuff, why wouldn't Del Toro go back to his Haunted Mansion project? Some say it's because he already made his Haunted Mansion movie in 2015 as Crimson Peak. Now, this hasn't been confirmed, but everything does line up. Back in 2006, Del Toro sold his spec script for Crimson Peak to Universal, but then for various reasons that project kept getting put on hold. Then we fast forward to 2010. That's when Disney announces that Del Toro is going to be directing and producing his own version of the Haunted Mansion film. But for various reasons, that project also gets put on hold. Then fast forward again to 2012, and it is announced that Del Toro is now going forward with Crimson Peak, albeit with a different studio, and he will be doing rewrites on the script. Rewrites. Now, of course, rewrites are a natural part of the creation process when you're moving a script from a spec script towards something that's going to be put into production. but I do honestly believe that elements from some of Del Toro's potential Haunted Mansion scripts for Disney ended up in Crimson Peak, because if you haven't seen Crimson Peak, it is basically Disney's Haunted Mansion's incestuous sibling. The basic plot of Crimson Peak is as follows. It's 1901. Our main character is Edith, played by Mia Wasikowska, also known as Tim Burton's live-action Alice. She is an aspiring writer with a rich father, so basically imagine Joe Marchbo with money. Enter Thomas Sharp, played by Thomas Hiddleston, also known as Loki. He is an English baronet, which basically means all of the titles and none of the money. He wants Edith's rich father to invest in his invention, and he also wants Edith to marry him. Edith's father says no. Edith wants to say yes, but the father gets in the way, so then the father is brutally murdered, and I mean brutally, like Game of Thrones style, skull-crushing, bone-cracking, brutally murdered. Like, I can't unsee this, and I want to. So badly. So with Edith's father out of the way, she decides there's nothing stopping her from marrying Thomas, so she does, and then they go to live in his beautifully creepy old mansion, and they're roommates with his beautifully creepy older sister Lucille, played by Jessica Chastain. Lucille spends her days doing two things. First, playing piano. Next, force-feeding Edith tea. Edith starts to see ghosts. The ghosts lead her to documents that make her realize that Thomas has already been married 3 times to wealthy women, and she is number 4, and also the tea is poison. Edith confronts Lucille and Thomas, then she finds out that the two of them have been incesting, that's a verb now, for their entire life. They started off their killing sprees by killing the mom when she found out, and then they have since been killing off the wealthy women that Thomas has been marrying so that they can keep the money to keep the house going, and then eventually everyone dies. Well, except for Edith, she just dies inside. Now here's where it gets interesting. If you strip away the incesting, it's a verb now, as well as the very disturbing, violent, skull-crushing murder scene from the beginning of the movie that I still can't unsee. This is basically a Haunted Mansion movie. Crimson Peak is filled with Haunted Mansion Easter eggs. This is the only Haunted Mansion where you want to go on an Easter egg hunt. First of all, there are numerous references to the house breathing. Next, there's a very important family ring as part of the plot. There is a caretaker complete with dog, and one of the film's most important scenes takes place at a ball with waltzing at the forefront. And, Easter eggs aside, Crimson Peak's plot lines up perfectly with the Haunted Mansion if you do one key thing, and gender swap Tom Hiddleston's role with Jessica Chastain's. Even though there are differences in the Haunted Mansions across Disney theme parks throughout the world, there is one ghost character that appears in almost all of them, and that is the ghost of the bride. Probably most notable is Constance Hatchaway. She is a widow bride who killed multiple husbands for their money, which is pretty well exactly what Tom Hiddleston's character, Thomas Sharp, is doing. And Edith is just next on the chopping block. Like, literally. Then you have Jessica Chastain's character, the devious older sibling who's the evil mastermind behind this whole marry a rich person then kill them off plan, and their only joy comes from playing the piano. The first time we meet Lucille, she's playing the piano at the ball where Thomas is teaching all the Americans how to waltz like an English gentleman, and the last time we see Lucille playing the piano is after she has been killed and her ghost is just there playing piano for all eternity. I mean, it's pretty on the nose. There's a ghost that plays piano in the Haunted Mansion ballroom scene. Like, that's who she is. And finally, Doug Jones. He's not one of the Haunted Mansion ghosts. He's a very talented actor and mime who is a frequent collaborator with Guillermo Del Toro. So basically, think of him as the Johnny Depp to Del Toro's Tim Burton. He appears in most Del Toro films as the movie's trademark creature. So he was the Fishman in In the Shape of Water. He was the creepy Eye Man in Pan's Labyrinth. And at one point, Del Toro said that they were in the process of making maquettes or production sculptures of Doug Jones as the Hatbox Ghost, who, in other interviews, Del Toro said was set to be the film's main haunting. We would have had Doug Jones as the Hatbox Ghost. Like, that's the one thing Crimson Peak is missing. Kind of. If you look at the past roles that Doug Jones has played in Del Toro films, it really gives you a sense of how the Hatbox Ghost would have factored in to Del Toro's Haunted Mansion. Basically, he likely would have been a highly physical but silent character who had some kind of meaningful interaction with the main character to help push the plot and the story forward. Which, coincidentally, is exactly what Doug Jones does in Crimson Peak, because he plays not one, but two dead mom ghosts, both of which appear to warn Edith about the creepy siblings that are trying to kill her. So that's kind of probably what the Hatbox Ghost was gonna do, just with a cool hat. All in all, Crimson Peak is a pretty decent movie that accomplishes what it sounds like Del Toro was setting out to do one way or another. Make a really visually stunning, terrifying haunted house film that wasn't tongue-in-cheek, but was instead an homage to the really great haunted house movies of the past, like The Shining or The Haunting, where the house itself was a character in the film. And he did it. I mean, it is a shame that he wasn't able to do it with the Disney IP, but, like Del Toro said, there is still room for another Haunted Mansion movie, and what better reason to make a Haunted Mansion movie than including it in Disney's Seaverse? We could get either a Haunted Mansion film or a Phantom Manor film, or, way out of left field, a Mystic Manor film, or all three. But those are topics for a future video. And if you want to see that future video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because that, my friends, concludes yet another episode of Teacup For One. Please let me know in the comment section down below. Do you believe that Crimson Peak does in fact have elements or ghosts of Del Toro's attempted Haunted Mansion film? Or let me know, what is your favorite ghost movie? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's super easy. All you need to do is click on my face. Thanks for joining us again today, everyone. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees. Okay, go away.